Ever since the invention of the first piloted airplane, there have been plane crashes and also survivors. While some may consider it to be a miracle to survive such a crash, there are people who have been the only survivor of a fatal crash. Here are the 5 people who somehow survived a plane that was downed either due to pilot failure or some other problem. Number 1. Juliane Koepke, 1971. On Christmas Eve 1971, lightning struck Lanza Flight 508 over Peru, causing it to explode. Juliane Koepke was the only survivor of the 92 people on board, after falling 2 miles strapped into her seat. Completely alone in the rainforest, the 17-year-old was covered in deep gashes, and had a broken collarbone and ruptured knee ligaments. However, she had been taught survival skills by her father, whilst being raised at a remote jungle research station. After walking for 10 days, fighting mosquitoes and hunger, she began to float down a large river where she was saved by a passing boat. Number 2. Vesna Vulovic, 1972. On the 26th of January 1972, a suspected terrorist bomb placed on board Jet Yugoslav Airlines Flight 357, detonated over Czechoslovakia, blowing the plane apart in midair. Of the 28 people on board, only Vesna Vulovic, a 22-year-old Serbian flight attendant, survived. Trapped by a food cart in the tail of the DC-9 aircraft, she was left in a coma with injuries including a fractured skull, 3 broken vertebrae and 2 broken legs. She is the Guinness World Records holder for the highest fall without a parachute, 33,333 feet, and despite this dubious achievement she still flies. To this day I enjoy traveling and have no fear of flying, she said years after the crash. Number 3. Andes flight disaster, 1972. On the 13th of October 1972, a Uruguayan plane carrying 45 passengers crashed in the middle of the Andes mountain range. More than a quarter of those on board died in the initial crash. Rescuers gave up after 10 days of searching, assuming that no one could have survived. Stranded in the mountains, with no food, the survivors were forced to resort to cannibalism, eating the flesh of those who had died. Another 8 were killed when an avalanche hit their shelter amongst the wreckage. Realizing they would die on the mountain, 2 Chilean passengers, Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa, set out to find help. They trekked for 10 days before reaching Chile. After they had alerted the authorities, the 14 remaining survivors were rescued from the crash site, 72 days after the plane went down. Number 4. Bahia Bukhari, 2009. On the 30th of June 2009, a Yemenia Airways Flight 10 route to the Comoros Islands, nosedived out of the sky and crashed into the Indian Ocean. Bahia Bukhari was the only one of 153 people on board to survive. Just 12 years old, barely able to swim and with no life vest, she clung to a piece of wreckage for hours until found by rescuers. She was flown to hospital in France to be treated for burns and broken bones. After being picked up, she had to be convinced that there had in fact been a plane crash. Still in a state of shock, she believed that she had fallen from the plane after pressing her forehead too hard against its windows. Bahia was dubbed the Miracle Girl by the world's media. In 2010 she released her own book entitled, I'm Bahia, the Miracle Girl. Number 5. Ruben Vanuatu, 2010. 9-year-old Ruben Vanuatu was the only survivor, after an Africa Airways Airbus A330 crashed just short of the runway of Libya's Tripoli airport. His father Patrick, mother Trudy and brother Enzo were among the 103 people who died. Pulled unconscious from the wreckage, Ruben underwent surgery for fractured legs and has made a good recovery.